and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live daily photo show on YouTube every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And we are back live this week. We had a couple weeks off, but we are back in action. And we had a lot of fun stuff to go through over the next week or two. A lot of things lined up. It's just a case of actually scheduling them in advance and knowing what I'm doing. It's, you know, planning. Not my strongest suit sometimes. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about this guy here, which I did a wee unboxing of yesterday or 2 days ago, something. When did I do that? Friday. I did an unboxing on Friday of this thing. It is called the Loupedeck, and this is on loan, courtesy of the fine people at B&H. So if you do decide that this is the product that you need, this is the product for you, then do please buy through B&H. There's be a link down below. Great if you use that link. If not, go to B&H, buy from them. It's awesome. Yeah. Oh, you know what I just realized today too? Okay, we're gonna make it up, but this should be a sponsored show, but I don't have everything set up for it. So we'll make it up. We'll do that. We'll do a couple more of this. We'll do like Wednesday and Thursday or something. Anyway, so today we're talking about the Loupedeck. This is, if you haven't seen this before, let me switch over to the remote cam. Let me finally get this kind of in frame. There we go. Switch over to the remote camera. This is a hardware control surface for Lightroom. So if you're not a Lightroom user, then this is probably not going to be of any interest whatsoever. As far as I know, this doesn't work with anything else, but this is designed for Lightroom. It'd be interesting actually to find out if, oh look, you can wrap the cable different directions. That's cute. It'd be interesting to find out if you could kind of hack this or if there's any way to use it with another product. Now this is going to bug me if I don't get this in, isn't it? Be calm. But it is for Lightroom, and that's what we're going to look at today. So I have not played with it yet other than to install it and confirm that it actually does work. This thing really is going to bug me if I don't get it in. See, it's like a little cable gate here for the thing, and it's wobbling if I don't get that in there. So now I really want to get that in. Man, that is tight. So this is plastic, which I said when I first unboxed it, I kind of wish it was metal. I mean, it looks like it's aluminum. And obviously there's a cost difference, and this thing is not cheap. There we go. Is not cheap to begin with. Ryan, how much does this cost again? Please pull it up for me. So I do kind of wish it was aluminum, but other than that, the knobs do have a good feel to them. Just, they're not like super high-end knob. You know, you grab some sliders, knobs, faders, and it's just, ooh, it feels so good. It's like, oh, that's so smooth. How much? $300. I get Ryan talking in my ear. $300 for this thing. So this is not a cheap accessory, but certainly you can spend a lot more money for a lot of other things. But I think if you are a daily Lightroom user and you spend a lot of time doing your photo editing, this thing could come in very handy. So the idea behind this is you have a series of buttons and knobs. Switch back over to this camera real quick. That control very specific things. So you can read it on here, like I can't even read it upside down, but there's contrast. There's a contrast knob, an exposure knob, a clarity knob, and so on. And so presumably, as you get really comfortable with it, really used to it, you'd be looking at your screen and you would just know instinctively, okay, there's contrast, there's clarity, and so on, and not even have to keep looking down, which like any keyboard, at that point, come on, get in there. At that point, that's when it becomes really useful. And if you think, well, that's crazy, I would never get that used to it, you know you would. I mean, think about it. If for anybody who can type without looking at their hands, when you first started typing, you had to look at your hands, or you had to work really hard not to look at your hands. But now you're just like, pretty soon you can be on your iOS screen. It's just, it takes time. But I think, again, once you are used to it, I think this thing could be quite phenomenal. It's got arrow keys to navigate through to the next picture, so you can easily pull up the next picture, start adjusting, and off you go. So I installed it. Let me show you the install process a little bit, because there was something kind of funny about this that I thought I would share. First of all, let me bring up the right web page here. To install it is pretty straightforward. All you got to do is go to loupedeck.com/setup, or just go to Loupedeck and then click on the little drop down here, and you find out here setup. So you click on that, takes you to the same place. And it's a nice little black and white photo, and this is download the software. It tells you basically before you connect, you got to install the software. Keep scrolling down, Mac, Windows, and a user's guide. Pretty straightforward. So I click on the Mac button, it downloaded the thingy thing, it downloaded the Loupedeck, which loaded up like so. Let's get started, drag Loupedeck into the apps folder, and that's it, and then launch it. So I launched it. It took me through a very simple startup screen, which I don't know if this is a good idea to launch this now or not, what it's going to actually do. I guess it's already running in the background now. So it takes you through a very simple startup screen. The only thing that was kind of funny is, see this right here, this keyboard setup assistant? This popped up once I plugged in the keyboard, and it hasn't gone away. So I guess I can just close that now. But I thought that was kind of funny that it brought this up. It's like, you're installing a new keyboard, hit the button next to the shift. I'm going, there's no shift. So yeah, there really is no shift. So whatever. But the process took you through the rest of it, and it worked. So that's a little oddity that popped up, but it worked. And then at the end of the startup process, it says launch Lightroom. Click, and it does it for you. It says click here to launch. It launches Lightroom, and off we go. So now we are in Lightroom. Now what I haven't done, and this would have been, this is a first look. Okay, let's make that clear. This is a first look. I will spend considerable amount of time using this thing. I get to keep this for 30 days before it has to go back to B&H. I will get to know it as best as I can, and then I will give you my thoughts, my feedback on it, and do a split screen kind of a show where I'll set up a camera top down so you can see as I'm adjusting it here and see the image change, because I think that'll be a lot more effective. But this is just a first look. We want to take a look at what you can do in here just very, very briefly. So I've pulled up a picture in Lightroom. I'm going to actually switch to this screen. Pulled up a picture in Lightroom. You guys have seen the kitty cats before. Let's just go to a base raw image. So there's a raw image, untouched. I'm in the develop module. You do have to be in the develop module because that's what you're controlling. And if you look at the controls at the top here, these are some of the first ones I'll grab. So there's exposure and then contrast. So I'm just going to quite simply reach over to exposure. That'd be the exposure knob right there, and switch back to the computer. And as I adjust that knob, you can see the exposure changing on there, voila, as you would expect. So I can change exposure, I can reach over and change the contrast. So right now, of course, I have to look down and see what I'm grabbing. I have to look down at my pad here, but that'll change. Clarity, there we go, take up the clarity a little bit. Maybe I want to pull the shadows down. I can go negative on the shadows. I can pull the highlights down a little bit. Let's see, what else do I have? I have blacks on here, so I can raise my black point or lower my black point. Let's bring that down and crush that down quite a bit. And I can bring my white point up a little bit if I want to stretch that out a little. So those are the base knobs there that I've just been spinning. So that was all of these guys here. So these kind of, 7 basic knobs that do your basic controls on there. Pretty straightforward. Let's see, we got vibrance and saturation. Let's hit that next. Let's go back to the screen here. A little bit of vibrance, or let's take that down a little bit, or saturation. Of course, we can super hyper crank the saturation. Very, very good. Now let's play with colors. Let's choose a different image. Let me see here. Now I need to look at this, because since I don't know yet what all controls we have, can I go back to my grid view from here? Black and white, full screen, undo, redo, brush, star ratings, copy, paste, pick, zoom. There's an FN button and then a C2 and C3 button, no idea, and then P1 through P8, no idea what any of those do yet. The arrow keys, export button. I don't see a way to go to grid view. Although maybe let's see if any of these other buttons do that. Oh, okay, so C2, let's go back to this view. C2 is hiding that panel, and something tells me that's customizable. C3 just switched to, okay, took me to their downloads page. Oh, that's not terribly useful. Let's go back to Lightroom. So clearly those need to be reprogrammed. And then there's the FN button, which is going to be a press to hold to do something different. That's okay. All right, let's just find a different picture. I'm going to hit the G on the keyboard because I want to bring up a totally different picture. And let's find something cool. What'll be fun to play with? So I need something with some color in it. Ooh, here we go. Some nice green in that guy. Let's hide. I'm going to use the C2 button to hide that panel on the side there. Excellent. I'm going to use the rotate and crop. Let's see if I start turning rotate. There we go. Well, it's obviously rotating. I would guess, let's see here. Oh, there's a C1 dial on here too. I don't know what that does either. So I can rotate. I don't know how I crop. Oh, I push. Nope. Okay, well, clearly I've got some figuring out of what to do here. But you've got the rotate, and this is a nice big knob on here. This is pretty cool. So you got this big old knob here that you can spin to rotate the image. So that's nice, and it's quite intuitive, I think, there. And okay, I want to adjust the green on the picture. So I'm going to just, if we look again at the sliders, you see there's this row of sliders dials here, and they'll have a little color knob or color dot next to them. I will, let's go back to this. I'm just going to grab the green one and start dialing it down. Okay, so you saw immediately it pulled up the HSL panel. It's on the hue panel right now. Okay, so I want to be on saturation. Let's see here. Oh, okay, so on, this is so cool. I'm really digging this thing. On this panel, you see here you've got hue, saturation, luminance, and then all of these next to it. And hue is currently lit up. So if I hit the saturation button, that lights up. The panel has just changed. So I'll go back to that. You can see I can rotate through these buttons here. And while I'm doing that on the computer, you can see that it's automatically switching to the saturation panel, the luminance panel, and so on. So let's go back to saturation, and then I'll take that green and pull that down because I want to desaturate the green a little bit. Nice. Oh, that's pretty cool. That is really cool. Now I've got, let's go to another picture. I hit the G to go to, back to the grid view. Let's get some nice turtle pictures. Is that one sharp? This guy was moving like crazy. It's amazing how fast a huge turtle can move. Let's make this one black and white. So there is a color/black and white button on the keyboard. So if I hit that, didn't do anything. Okay. Oh, I have to go into develop mode. I'm gonna have to find if there's a way to quickly go into develop mode. So now I'm in black and white. Nope, still not. There it goes. Okay, just took a second. So that's in black and white mode. Now I've got things like my clarity. Let's take that clarity way up. Let's take the contrast up a little bit. Looks like this one's not totally in focus, but that's okay. We'll take the highlights down a touch. I got to say, once I get used to where the keys are, this is going to be really, really cool. It's going to take some getting used to. But honestly, I think that once I can look at the picture and do this like I would do with my keyboard and mouse, this is going to be huge. Damn it, I hate it when things are really cool because then I don't want to send them back. And it means I have to pay for it. Oh well, it's the way it goes. So let's see here. You got white balance and tint, vibrant saturation, before and after. Oh, that's handy. Let's take a look at that. So before and after button. So, oh, that's doing a side split. That's cool, before and after. Okay. All right, that's a way to do that. Then there's the export button. Let's see if I hit export. Is it going to bring up my dialog? What is it going to do? There we go. Okay, brings up the export, bring up export one file, choose my preset, and off I go. I don't know how useful that button is, since you have to reach over to the keyboard after that. You've got brush size. Let's see, okay, I hit the brush button. It just opened the brush panel. Again, I don't know how useful that is because you have to pick up a mouse or a tablet, but let's see if I'm going to change that. Let's see, can I change brush size? Nope, knob doesn't change brush size. That's just going back into rotate. All right, well, I got to figure out what all that can do. Let's see here, star ratings. So I can hit my star ratings on here. It looks like I could do colors. Let's see if I hit a, oh, that must be a search. Okay, so I have to figure that one out. So I can hit the star ratings on there. I can copy and paste. I can pick. All right, set that as a pick. Zoom. Okay, well, that brings the zoom way in. That's excellent. And full screen. I got a full screen mode. Oh, nice. Okay, so if I want to just look at this thing full screen, back out again. Yeah, I'm kind of liking it. What do you guys think? That's pretty cool. Let's see what's going on in the software, because when it first loaded up, it showed, it said, do you want to use the preset settings or do you want to build your own? Okay, so I guess you can really customize this. So let's take a quick look at the software. And actually, before we do that, let me just take a look at the comments here, see if there's anything flying by. And let's see here, anything on there? Chuck saying this would be good combination combined with the Wacom tablet. I'm sure it would. Burns is agreeing it would be nice if they made the back or bottom from aluminum. Yeah, I think it would be. I think that would be definitely a good idea to make that bottom from aluminum. Brad's got a question. I'll come back to your question later, Brad. We are going to break out for a separate Q&A on today's show, so we'll get to those non-standard questions there, on-topic questions then. Well, let's go back to the computer here. Let's see here. So I'm looking at the menu here. So in the menu bar, you get this new little icon. Loupedeck is connected. System is ready. So configure. Let's click on that. Customize your console or continue with our settings. So this is what I saw in the, oh, okay, so that C1 is set to vignette right now. I can set it to a variety of things. Okay, so vignettes, it seems like a good idea. So let's go back into this real quick. How do I close that? Let's go back into here, and C1 is set to vignette. Oh, nice. There we go. Just grab that knob and spin. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, let's see what else we've got in here. Back to configure. C2, okay, so all of these, library, develop, toggle, okay, open browser, again, kind of silly, so we could change, oh, show clipping, that could be very useful. Toggle spot removal tool, open configuration window, toggle radio filter tool, excellent. So you really can. Now, let's see here, these are set to reddish, orangish, what does that mean? It's going to, oh, it's bringing up preset. Oh. I can set those to my built-in presets. Okay, so let's go back to P1 and let's set that to, I really like these Visco ones. Let's go for like a Visco Canon preset. Let's do Cool Plus. Okay, so that's assigned to Cool Plus. Let's go to P2, and I'll set that to something totally different. Let's do like a black and white preset so we know what it is. We know that we're doing it. Let's do a black and white. I don't know what black and white look one is, but we're going to find out. Okay, so I've just set up P1 and P2. Let's go to a different image. Load up a different picture. Let's find a picture that's actually in focus. There we go. That looks pretty sharp. Okay, so that picture's up. I'm just going to hit the P1 button. Yep, that's definitely my preset. Hit the P2 button. Cool. Well, that's really cool. So you've got 8 buttons dedicated to presets so that you can just call up. Oh, that's really cool. I could see if you're doing a ton of pictures. Let's say you're a wedding photographer. Hugely useful for wedding photographers. You got a bunch of pictures that need to look consistent, right? They need to look the same-ish, but of course everyone's going to get tweaked individually. And I know that just from working with some of the Maston Labs presets and Visco presets, often you'll find some that are very, very similar to each other, and you'll find that on one photo, one version works, another photo, another version works. So if you had a row of your kind of ideal presets, even if it's just based on the client or based on the job, ideal presets up there. You pull up a picture, you go P1, P2, P3, P3, that's it. Okay, P3 is it. Let's take the contrast down, take the exposure up a little bit, change that. Next picture, arrow to the next picture. P1, P2, oh, P2 works on this one, boom, try and change. Yeah, I could see how this could save a lot of time. Cool. Well, there you go. First impressions are very high indeed. I'm definitely digging it. Again, wish this was aluminum. Wish this stupid thing would stay in there. I don't know why that keeps popping out. You'd think, it's given how hard it is to get in there, you'd think that it would stay in. Stay. And yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. All right, let's see if there's any questions related to this topic at hand. If not, then we will switch over to the second part of the show and jump into any open Q&A. Birdstick is asking, how do the knobs and buttons feel? Are they tactile and responsive, or do they have a mushy feel? Also, how well do the inputs respond to the software, instant or small lag? Okay, so as far as the buttons go, there's a very, very subtle step to them. You know, like some knobs, you chunk, chunk, chunk. Imagine that, but extremely subtle. So I feel a little bit of texture in there, which is, I like that. I like the texture. It's a nice texture feel to it. Yeah, that's a good feel. They are... I mean, there's a little bit of play to them. Let's do this. Let me go to this view. So there's a little bit of play, which is not actually adjusting anything. So let's find it. There we go. Okay, so here, this is the clarity slider. I'm wiggling it right now. It's got a little bit of play to it, and that is not changing the settings. But obviously if I actually turn it, then we're getting the settings. Detented knobs, that's what Birdstick is saying these are called. Thank you. So, but very subtle, very, very subtle. In fact, I wonder if I did this. Let's see here, if you could hear. You can hear that, right? I think that makes sense. I think you could hear that. I'm gonna get my microphone back on now. And so there's a very, very subtle little texture to it, a little detent apparently. The buttons, again, I think the buttons have a little wiggle. See, there's definitely a bit of wiggle in there. These are not your Apple keyboard grade keys on here. They definitely have a bit more wiggle than you might like, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I would say that I would not be unhappy if the buttons had a little bit more solid feel to them, not quite as wobbly, had a little bit more solid feel, but they're also very big buttons, so they're easy to hit. Keeping in mind that ideally you're using this without looking at the device, so you want to be able to find their buttons. Let me see, actually, that said, do any of these have detent bumps on them? No, they don't, but there's such a non-grid pattern. I think once you know where they are, it's pretty easy to find them. And obviously every once in a while you glance down and that's fine, but ideally you want to keep your eyes off of it as much as possible. They feel good. I'm not going to go as far as saying they feel world class. These aren't like, they're not the kind of knobs you grab on and go, oh, that's just so satisfying. You know, some knobs and sliders is just so satisfying. It's such a good feel. It's not that, but it doesn't feel super cheap either. This feels a little bit cheap. That definitely feels a little cheap, but the knobs themselves, I don't think they feel cheap. They could feel better. They don't feel just, everything's just a little bit wobblier than I would like. So here's, again, this, look at like this is just, I wish that wasn't quite so wobbly. I wish that was a bit more solid, but there you go. There you go. Burns is saying, would you say that they have a positive response versus a crap, did I hit that field? Oh, they definitely have a positive response. Yeah, you know that you hit it. There's not a question whether you hit it or not. When you, especially when like you go to the button, you know, yes, I could push too lightly to not do anything, but you know when you've hit it. Yeah, I think you know when you've hit it. I think so. I think so. We'll see once I've been using it for a while. If I feel like I've hit something, then I have to hit it again because I didn't hit it the first time. But I think it's all right. I think it is all right. $300. That's a tough one. I think functionality-wise, absolutely worth $300. If you're doing this all the time, I think that's great. I think it'll save you a considerable amount of time from navigating through the list of sliders, especially when you're repeating stuff, right? If you edit a couple of photos at a time, it's probably not so useful. But if you edit a bunch of stuff at once, again, wedding photographer is the perfect example for this. You've got 500, well, you're going to deliver that many, but whatever, however many photos you're going to deliver, and you need to go through and edit them all, that's going to be a huge time saver. For the $300, I do wish that it felt a little more solid. This is probably not that expensive to manufacture. Let's face it, this is just a bunch of plastic and parts and knobs that are not, I don't think, particularly expensive. So I would like to see a little more money put into the actual manufacturing of it. But again, we'll see how it holds up after a month of use and abuse. All right, that's it. I'm going to jump out of here now, take a quick look. Trevor says they've taken a normal keyboard chassis and easily available parts and made a decent product. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment there. Okay, let's hear. Anything else I want to say before I jump out of here into the main thing? Just this again. This is the show we did yesterday on stacking with Affinity Photo. If you haven't seen that, that will be up on photoapps.expert later on today. So if you're watching this anytime after Tuesday the 29th in the afternoon, then it should be available. And hey, just incidentally, if you didn't get the mailing list blast, we still have slots on the workshop. We would love to fill this thing up. This is the Oaxaca, Mexico workshop. It's in October. If you haven't checked it out, please do. photojoseph.com/workshops. It would be lovely, lovely, lovely to see some of you there. I'd love to fill that workshop up. Okay, that's it. Let's get out of here and we'll come back for a general Q&A. We'll see you back here in just a few moments.